My name is Giovanni Abashadur. Little light colors here. Only in the red colors. Put other reds. And the red, super. Excellent. Excellent. Perfect. Super. My work is art.
Wow, that's really cool. It's not every day that you meet the painter doing the mural, and it makes me want to be better at asking questions. I was really limited in my vocabulary, and I really wanted to know more about him and his story. There's a lot of murals going up here in Akamal and Tulum, and I think it's just really cool to see. So last week we talked about what we do is a little bit satirical. If you watched it, go check it out. If you didn't watch it, go check it out. If you watched it, we appreciate that.
But this week we're excited to talk about how we make our trip happen in Mexico each year. There's about 3 or 4 main points that we feel like we can talk about in one short video. One of those would be minimalism and staying on a budget while we're here in Mexico. The second one would be school for roads and what do we do there. And then the third one would be what do we do for work that allows us to take the time together each year to make this happen. So
yeah, let's jump into it. We're on one of our favorite beaches today, Ixcasel. It is a good day. It's a windy day. Check this out. We're here with our friends. Just happened to pull in at the same time. We can just always assume to see them here on the weekend. It's a red flag day. One, 2, 3. Okay. And we're live. Thanks, crew. This is hilarious. Paloma's in the best mood she's been at the beach in a while. I think because we're in this pretty sweet shade hut. She just had her lunch. And I'm making lunches for everybody else. I appreciate your help. Thank you. So thinking about how we do this, there's 2 points that are kind of tied together. Number 1 is budget, number 2 is minimal living. You know, first of all, in Chicago, we live in a minimal apartment. We live in a small apartment, and that helps us have fewer things, and it also helps us rent out the apartment for longer periods of time when we're gone because it's smaller. It's in a good location, so we find that it's really easy to rent out, and it keeps our expenses lower. So we're spending less in heat and electricity, and also because it's smaller, we have fewer things, which is also in line with how we want to live. The other thing is we want to talk about is budget. You know, we all live on a budget. We live on a budget, so we can't live like we're on vacation here for this amount of time. You know, our apartment that we rent is, you know, similar to the apartment costs we have in Chicago. And actually, food cost is a little bit lower, but we're not eating out every day. We're making lunches like we are today, and we're just shopping at the grocery store. But we're kind of really staying on the same type of meal plan. So that's an important thing. And one thing we do here is we have an app on our phone that helps us keep track of the categories that we're spending money in. Basically, it's the envelope system. If you follow Dave Ramsey, it's pretty much the same thing. So we have an envelope, a virtual envelope, and all of those things that we spend here, we're careful to log so that we know exactly where our money is going. Those are 2 things that we find that are really helpful in how we're able to live here for 3 months. And we have friends that live here too, and it's not a unique thing. These are the things that we find help us to come for a longer period of time. they do a really good job of keeping the beach clean here. You know, some of our friends, Bob and Carrie, they make it a point to ask their kids to always pick up the trash if they see it. We can't fix everything, but we can do a little bit. It's encouraging it to us to see other parents like Bob and Carrie, what they're doing with their kids and how they're raising their family and how they're choosing to spend their time. And we're thankful to have them as friends while we're here in Mexico. So we made it to one of our favorite cenotes. Rhodes was super brave and jumped off the platform a few times.
I think like 4 or 3.
Yeah. Really proud of him, overcoming his fears. You know, this place, it's one of our favorites. I can't remember the name of it, ever. We bring all our friends here. So if you come, we'll bring you here, I promise. Nothing better on a day like today than be at a place like this with this guy right here. I love you, buddy.
Oh, tickle, 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 tickle.
Stevie was driving the car this morning, had a flat tire. Couldn't have been in a better spot. She's literally just right outside of camp here. This stuff is all rusty. I don't know, I'm trying to get it going. But two other points that we wanted to talk about that are also semi-related is education and our career choice.
Okay, so let's talk about school. Rhodes is 6.5 and he would be in 1st grade. What works really well for us and our family is while we're in the city, in Chicago, we homeschool. And we meet with our homeschool group once a week. Rhodes also takes a couple of classes at a private Spanish school in Lakeview. It's called Spanish Horizons. It's the best, to keep up with his Spanish throughout the year. And then our homeschool curriculum is something that we can travel with, so we bring it with us to Mexico. And then while we're in Mexico, Rhodes actually does go to school. He's been at the sweetest little Montessori school here for 3 years. During our time here, we just sort of slowly keep up with our homeschool work. Whatever we don't finish, no big deal. We can work on it throughout the summer, and that works really well for us. Next year, he'll be going to a different school here in Mexico. So far, this setup has worked really well for us, and there's so much more I'd love to share about his school and education. That is it in a nutshell, and that's how we make it work.
So one more thing we want to talk about is work. What do we do for a living that allows us to be here for so long? And the answer to that question is we are wedding photographers. We have a company, it's called Avery House, and we've been photographing weddings for, gosh,
A long time.
a long time, over a decade, and we love it. And we have a very seasonal market in Chicago, so we're not photographing as many weddings in the wintertime. So once we had kids and decided we want to move on this path, we decided to pack all of our work into the spring, summer, and fall, hit our financial goals, hit our booking goals, and then that allows us to determine how much time we can take off in the winter.
And when we come to Mexico, our work here doesn't stop. There's always things to work on the business, on the back end, and we also do all of our consultations for our next year bookings remotely, so those happen over email, phone call, video calls. We're able to do all of that in a remote workspace. It works really well for us in our business, so that's how we make it work. So I think a lot about back in the day when this was just kind of a dream for us, and we thought it would be really nice to take time during our off season and go somewhere warm and just be intentional with our family. And it's kind of cool to see that we're actually doing this, and I think back along the way and like all the steps that we took to make it happen and how it worked for us. And the thing that has made the biggest impact for the freedom in our lives to do this is just our constant strive for decluttering, simplifying, minimizing the things in our life.
We downsized our business.
It's changed everything in our lives that we felt like could be simplified. I would love to know what steps you guys are taking to make your dream work. It's really fun to get to share these things with you guys, but it's also really hard. It's really hard to put these videos together, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not even the one editing, but would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to wrap up kind of a thought into 5 to 10 minutes or less, and
it's hard to feel like we're really sharing like what we want to share.
Yeah.
So
it's an hour-long phone call is what it is.
yeah.
And you can't do that in a video.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some insight there. You know, I'd love to hear what other people do. You know, this is what works for us. We have friends here that also live remotely and work remotely for the same amount of time we do that have completely different jobs. And it's cool to hear what they do. For us, it's fun to learn about and have those conversations.
But I mean, it's just really chasing any dream that you
Yeah.
have and how you make that work and sacrifices that you make, and that's what makes it all worth it. And
yeah, I think defining what's important and then
knowing what it is you're living for and figuring out how to make your life work around that, rather than letting other things that you aren't really living for control your life.
which is a lot about the why, which we're going to talk about next week, because next week is the why we're doing what we're doing, which I have a feeling it's going to be a hard one to make.
It's going to be even harder. Yeah.
Hard one to talk about in a short amount of time because there's so much why. But we'll leave it at that. We'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching. We appreciate the time if you've gotten this far, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Granny.
Thanks, Granny, for being here.
Thanks to all of our parents and friends that are watching and supporting.
All right.
We
Cheers.
love you guys.
Do you ever have those moments, those times when you just feel super grateful? I was just sitting over here hanging out by myself actually while the kids are off with Stevie, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of gratefulness that I had to talk about. I had to share. I was sitting here by myself and I wanted to talk about it. I don't always have feelings like this, but just being here in this moment, we had some adversity today. We had a flat tire, but it wasn't a big deal. I was easily able to take care of it. I was easily able to get to where I needed to go to pay for it. And just being in this house, you know, the things that unfolded for us to be here, and the ability we have now to host some of the people that are going to come stay with us. You know, this place is definitely more than we need. And I feel super grateful. And even last night we had dinner with some friends of ours, some friends that we met here in Mexico that are actually from the Chicago area, who have been here doing the exact same thing for the most part that we've been doing for the same number of years, you know, and just to have their friendship has meant so much to us because we're just not here alone. You know, all of these things kind of compile, and I don't know, I just feel really grateful and thankful and understanding that I'm in a situation that a lot of people might never be in. And I don't want to take that for granted. I don't want my kids to take that for granted, and I don't want to come off as if I am taking it for granted, because at this moment it is just willed to us. What that complete purpose is right now, I really don't know. But I'm hoping that as time goes on, we can fully see what that purpose is. I'm just grateful. I needed to talk about it. I wanted to share it, so I'll leave it at that.